Among its forests, seas, and plains, Europe's wilderness is home to some of the continent's rarest and most endangered species. This series will take you to some of its remotest corners to show you its incredible diversity. With their powerful antlers, European elk are the largest members of the deer family on the continent. The far north is their home. They live between forest and mountains, hiding away in the trees around Trondheim, and retreat into the peaks of the Jotunheimen National Park. With its steep-sided valleys and waterfalls, Norway's mountain ranges make for extremely beautiful, craggy landscapes. Jotunheimen is the highest mountain range in the whole of Scandinavia. Its name means home of the giants. Elk are perfectly adapted to life in this tough landscape. Their sizable bodies are supported on meter-long legs. At full pace, they can run up to 50 kilometers an hour. And as good swimmers, they have no problems with the region's rivers. Elk cows do the rearing of calves by themselves. A cooling dip in the summer provides a bit of relief. But they mainly spend their time eating. Their habitats are also made of the swampy moors around the forest. In the winter, their long legs stop them from getting stuck in the deep snow. There's a reason why elks are called the kings of the forest. Depending on the breed and sex, they can weigh up to 500 kilograms and reach heights of over 2 meters, and can run up to 50 kilometers an hour. By surface area, Norway is one of the biggest countries in Europe, so its 5.3 million inhabitants are thinly spread around. It's a country that suits people who like peace and seclusion, like Bore Aspo, a farmer on the Namensfjord. He is a nature guide and knows the area around Trøndelag in central Norway like the back of his hand. This is where he goes hunting with his camera. In order to get the best images, he has to go deep into the forest, to the places where the elk hide out. Bore takes out his camera all year round. Each season brings its own challenges. The elk are well camouflaged and not easy to pick out in their habitat.
Autumn is great, but I also really like winter. The light conditions are great here then, and we get snow, which makes everything much easier if I want to get great photos at night. I've been working on that for years. Part of this has been trying to take photos of wolverines at night. It has to be really dark, and the snow is a great help to get clear images. If the background is too dark, the photos never come out.
Although there are more than 200,000 elk in Norway, humans rarely see them. They spend most of their time deep in the forest, and their gray-brown hide makes them difficult to distinguish from their surroundings, especially in autumn. Bore hopes to snap some anyway, and to do so, he needs to be able to read tracks.
In 2018, a fully grown elk cow fell over and died here. It was in February. And a wolverine came here for that whole time to eat its carcass. It took about 2 or 3 months for everything to be gone.
Elk live alone. They only come together in autumn for the beginning of the mating season. Blueberries sweeten the journey into the depths of the forest. Apart from human hunters, bears and wolves are their only natural predators.
I love photographing live animals in their natural habitat. And my goal is to get the best photos without disturbing the natural world.
It can take Bore hours to find the elk. Although they mainly live in the woods, they sometimes pluck up the courage to get closer to human settlements outside the forest. He creeps up as carefully as possible. He knows this cow and her calf well. Bulls spend most of the year alone, except during mating season in autumn. The showdown has started. They start with some harmless posturing. Beating their antlers against the undergrowth is just a threat to their opponents. The mating or rutting season is a stressful time for elk bulls. They hardly eat and therefore lose a lot of weight. There can only be one winner when they fight over a cow. With the spoils settled, the flirting can begin. But things are never that easy. Although the mating season lasts 28 days, each cow is only in heat for 30 hours. This does not leave much time. Once the deed has been done, the cow exits the scene. The bull will also disappear once he has mated with every cow in the herd. Jotunheimen, home to giants, and the highest peaks in Norway. The Utla flows through a 40-kilometer-long valley, the deepest in Norway. Rigmor Solem is a ranger in Jotunheimen National Park and leads a group of visitors keen to spend time out in the natural world. Now that autumn has come, Rigmor has more time to spend looking for elk in the Utla Valley by herself. Elk feel most comfortable at temperatures between +10 and -20 degrees. When it gets too hot in summer, they retreat towards cooler mountain air. Even in summer, it rarely gets much warmer than 15 degrees in Jotunheimen's mountains. Rigmor is on her way to the Vettisfossen, which, at 275 meters, is Norway's highest natural waterfall.
This is a special place for me, and probably for lots of other people too, because there is such a diverse range of species here. It is the deepest valley in Northern Europe, and there are 10 large waterfalls here. Now we are out of the valley and in the Vettismarka. The natural world here is completely different. Elk like it here all year round. In winter, they sometimes go right up to the tree line. Last year, we saw a group of 10 to 12 elk walking up there. They go right down to the bottom of the valley and then on to the bottom of the waterfall, where they like hanging around for a while. And then they go back up. On the other side, they can climb to heights of 1,000 meters. They can cross glaciers and have no problems going up the steepest slopes.
Rigmor finds evidence of the elks everywhere in the forest.
Here is a path that elk and deer probably both use because it makes it easy to cross the river further down and to bathe. The river is really dry at the moment. It can get much faster flowing, and then it is really important that they have good crossing points. If you were looking for elk and deer, this could be a good spot to hide out and wait.
Dairy farming used to be the main industry in the mountains. Today, lots of the old farmhouses have been abandoned or are used by rambling clubs. Vettismarka is one of the latter old farms. For Rigmor, it is a place to rest after the long hike. There is no electricity, but there is running water outside.
I was kind of born and bred in nature. As a little girl in the 60s at home in Nordmøre, I had a very free childhood. Nature was a feature of my life very early, but I think I really got very into it when I was 20. I have worked as a nature guide for half my life. I started on the Hardangervidda, and now I'm here.
Further to the north, in the area around Trondheim, Erling Solberg is also looking for elk. He works for the Norwegian Institute for Natural History, where he is conducting a long-term study into the development of the elk population in his homeland. Erling wants to know where the elks migrate to in the hunt for food and what their eating habits mean for the rest of the natural world. For the owners of forest land, elk have become pests in the last few decades. They have few natural predators, and with no natural population control, they eat everything in sight. Erling has fitted 70 elk with GPS collars for his study, and it is these animals he is looking for now. A cow with her calf. Erling tries to catch her signal. He will use the data later to put together a picture of their migration. Elk stay in place as long as there is enough food there and only move on when nature's larder has been emptied.
Normally, it is pretty straightforward to see elks in Norway, but it can be trickier to find specific tagged animals, especially at the times we would most like to see them. For example, we would love to see a cow right after giving birth to see how many calves she has had. But the cows are particularly careful then. They hide away, and it can be difficult to find them.
If they are protecting their calves, mother elk can get very aggressive. They have to be handled with care.
We are running a project with the elks here. We monitor 40 to 50 with these signals, and we are trying to follow them for a whole year. We want to see where they go and how high their reproduction and survival rates are. This will mean we can learn a lot about where elk spend each season and about which habitats they feel most comfortable in, and even about how far an elk moves around over the course of a year.
After a pregnancy of about 8 months, cows give birth to their calves in sheltered spots in the forest. The calf can stand up a few minutes after birth and then begins trying to follow its mother. In the first few days, the calf will drink about 1.5 liters of milk a day. This later grows to 3. There is a close relationship between mother and child. The youngsters stay with their mothers until another calf comes along, at which point the elder child gives up its maternal bond. Elk calves weigh 10 to 15 kilos at birth. Their mothers raise them alone. Twins are a regular occurrence among elk. When looking for the collared elk, Solberg sometimes has to walk for miles and miles through the forest until he finally picks up a signal. But it is the only way to get enough data on their migratory behavior. Like all wild animals, elk rely on their finely tuned senses to pick up noises, smells, and movement constantly in the area around them, and to work out if they are under threat from a predator.
They have really good hearing and an excellent sense of smell. Their sight is not as great, a bit like humans, but their sense of smell is superb, and on top of that, if they are snuck up on, they have no problem running away from humans.
As late as the 1950s, cows, goats, and sheep grazed in the hilly landscape here without fences or walls. Nowadays, livestock is generally kept inside or down on the meadows. This has led to more abundant food for the elk, and their population has grown. They prefer high-energy food like leaves, buds, and new branches. Solberg is well aware of these preferences and has been able to assess the impact of them on the forest.
You can see what the elks like to eat here. One of them has been here and stripped this birch. It bites here and then strips the leaves off. This pine has also been grazed by an elk in the winter. Pines and birch are their main source of nutrition across the whole year, but their favorite food is rowan. Look at that tree. It should be a lot taller. It has been kept smaller by elks eating. Rowan, aspen, and willow are their favorite foods, but they survive by eating birch and pine.
Elk are so-called selectors. This means they don't just graze on anything, but carefully pick out the most energy-rich food. Like cows, they are ruminant animals, which means they have complex digestive systems. Theirs is slightly simpler, which allows them to digest their food more quickly than cattle. They spend roughly 2/3 of their life eating. Fully grown elk will eat between 15 to 20 kilograms of vegetation a day. In the summer, they build up fatty reserves to get them through the winter. While out monitoring, Solberg often visits a spot where an experiment is taking place in the forest. A fence should keep elk out of this patch of forest. Scientists are running an experiment here to see how the trees would develop if the elk left them alone. There are about 70 of these protected zones across the country. For the elk, the message is stay out and go get your food elsewhere.
If you have a look around here, you will see all of their favorite tree species: rowan, aspen, willow, and also beech and pine. All of these species are much bigger here inside the fence than out there. On top of that, the configuration of the different species is different, all a direct result of the fact that elks don't eat inside this area.
Norway has a big forest industry. For the owners of the forests, pine trees are a raw material with which they earn money. The fact that elk like eating sapling pine trees so much means millions of dollars of damage to the forests each year. The wildlife photographer Bore Aspo is well aware of these problems, but he still loves capturing the elk with his camera.
The wind has blown my hide's window open. I need to close it. I have a motion detecting camera there, and I want to get pictures of species in unusual settings, like the wolverine here on the moor. There are thousands of conventional pictures which others have taken. For example, in Finland, you can do shoots at feeding spots. This is why I always put my cameras in unconventional spots so that my photos look a bit different.
Bore has to check the cameras he has installed in the forest regularly.
This one's out of juice. I need to change the battery.
He does not get great photos every time. Wildlife photography requires patience. Elk size alone makes them easier to photograph, but that does not always help, so Bore has a box of tricks.
So in this bottle here, I've got a little bit of lynx urine, and if I just put it a couple of spots here, it's going to attract not only lynxes, but also some wolverines.
Is Bore in luck this time?
This is an interesting spot. I think it could be very good indeed. It's still got some battery. Yes. There are a lot of good pictures. I'll take the memory card home.
It has worked. He has even managed to tempt the shy wolverine into the lens's scope.
When the camera takes a lot of photos during the colder season, especially in winter, it gets warm and ice forms on the glass. Then I have to polish the glass and check everything is okay, or I never get good images. However, I also need to avoid coming here too often. The camera has to be left here for a week so that it does not smell of humans, as that puts off shy animals.
Bore can sometimes lie in wait for days, waiting for the perfect moment.
Now I will just sit here for a while, and relax, looking out at this amazing landscape. It is pretty late. I've checked the cameras and motion detectors, and there were good pictures from one of them. The other one had nothing, but that is completely normal.
The sparsely inhabited, wide, empty Norwegian landscape gives elk enough space to move around looking for food. In the summer, they prefer cooler regions like the mountains in Jotunheimen. Ranger Rigmor Zolum has often seen them here.
The greatest challenge for the elks here are the steep slopes. For example, if they come up to here from the valley and then head west, they have to climb up incredibly steep rock faces and cross streams.
Rigmor heads out on a walk from the old farm at Vettismorki.
They can be here any place.
If they are not eating, elk enjoy sitting down and dozing. They don't fall asleep, though, as they have to always stay alert. Rigmor often gets lucky, and despite their shyness, she has spotted signs they have been here.
You see, the elk rested here.
Her har elgen hatt hvileplass.
It's like a daybed.
Dagseng. Her har den ser ut
And
som
here
elgoksen.
it looks like an elk scratched its antlers on the bark of the tree.
Geviret sitt. Du kan treffe på elg her når som
We
helst
see elk
hele
here
året,
at
men,
all times of
jeg ser
year,
dem jo
but it is easy to spot
enklere
them
å
in
se dem på
winter
vinteren
when there
når
are
de
fewer
er
leaves in the
borte
forest and they go right up to the
skogen,
top to
og de går
graze.
høyt oppe på senvinteren og beiter,
Then
så-
it is much easier to
så er
spot
det
them
jo
using a
enklere å se
telescope.
dem i kikkert.
Elk use the short summers here to build up fat and to bathe. They are, in fact, the only member of the deer family which can eat underwater. They can close their nostrils when going underwater, and for them, the roots of plants like water lilies are a nutritious delicacy. They are excellent swimmers and can cover distances of up to 20 kilometers in the water. As forest dwellers, the water allows them not only to bathe, but to cool off in unbearable heat and get rid of irritating insects. Elk are unique in having webbing in between the skin on their hooves. This means they don't sink into the soggy riverbeds, a perfect adaptation for their lonely wandering. It's early morning on Mo Farm, just north of Trondheim. Trygve Ebbing owns a farm here, and his land includes both farmland and forest. He and Bore Aspo are going stalking today.
There's still a lot of people in Norway who see hunting as part of the tradition they grew up with. They are very experienced and proficient hunters. I used to hunt for months at a time, but now I only go very rarely.
There are too many elk in the forest here. As farmers here, it is this surplus, the annual increase, which we remove. For landowners like me, our forestry business is essential, and the elks are integrated into it.
Despite his job as a nature guide, Bore is here to help Trygve on the hunt. They have also brought a four-legged helper along, Eppu, the Norwegian elk hound. This breed has been used in elk hunts for hundreds of years in Norway. Eppu is wearing a GPS collar so that Bore will be able to find him in the forest. Elk hunting has a long history. Archaeological finds have shown that they were hunted in the Stone Age. There are strict local rules for forest owners like Trygve Ebbing. They are given precise numbers of animals they are allowed to hunt by sex. Around 100 elk are to be killed this autumn in Trygve's area. This helps maintain a healthy ecosystem by stopping their uncontrolled spread and stops the damage caused when their grazing becomes unsustainable. For forest owners in Norway, hunting is also a lucrative business which attracts tourists from all around the world.
We are looking forward to this hunt. The conditions are good. A bit of rain, but that isn't an issue. There is enough wind, and we know that there are elk nearby. It should be an exciting morning.
Elk hounds, like Epu, are Norway's national dog, and they are very popular. They resemble the very first dogs domesticated by humans. Hunting is in their blood.
This will be great. It looks really good.
Yeah, now we just need an elk.
He's off to the same spot.
Yeah, now we have a guide.
The elk hound's job is to track down the targets. They have learned to distinguish the right scents. The hunters follow. The unusual activity in the forest has not gone unnoticed, but this elk has nothing to fear yet. The hunters have to be extremely careful. Even the slightest noise can startle an elk. By pricking up their ears, elk can hear in stereo and locate sources of noise. The hunters will only communicate in whispers from now on. To track the elk, Bore and Trygve have to have complete faith in their dog. He appears to have had success.
The dog is holding the elk up. He's standing stock still. As hunters, we can now creep up. We have more than enough time. Time is not an issue. But if we fail, if we startle the animal, he'll scamper. Taking our time is no problem. In fact, it is better than being too quick. The wind is very good now.
I think we need to be careful.
Yeah, not too near the stream.
Yeah, okay. We will give it a go.
A good hunter has to be patient and practice their shooting a lot, so that it's never too dangerous out here. And you have to be in decent shape in order to do it properly and fire a good shot. If you are too tired, it is more difficult to shoot.
The dog has positioned the elk, and Bore can shoot. But his sight is blocked, and Bore hesitates. First attempt. The shot misses. The elk is in luck. Ranger Rigmor Solem is on her way up to the summit of the Jotunheimen region. Home to Norway's highest peaks at over 2,000 meters. A landscape whose craggy beauty always finds new ways to entrance Rigmor. Even these inhospitable surroundings contain traces of ancient local hunting traditions. Rigmor knows where some of them are.
Ja, en gjenfylt.
These are the remains of a so-called animal grave. There are 6 more going up this slope. Prehistoric hunters built these graves to catch reindeer and elk. The idea behind it was that they would work out the migratory paths of the elk and reindeer. And then they built walls on them. After that, they dug these holes. They were originally a lot deeper. Then they covered them with branches and vegetation so that the trenches were completely camouflaged. Often, they also built fences out of stone or wooden sticks around their paths. Higher up the path, they were quite wide, but they got smaller and smaller as the animal approached the trench.
This hunting method was used up until the 19th century, before it was banned. After that, most of the graves were filled in. It is still hard to believe that elk chose to live in this inhospitable area.
It is unbelievably impressive how the elk climb around in this area. They really are natural mountain climbers. They can get up steeper slopes than deer, who also do very well on tough inclines. I have run into elk at heights of nearly 2,000 meters and on the glaciers. In the winter, they try to move as little as possible. As long as they have food, they take it easy. It is critical that they expend as little energy as possible. It's the same for all animals who live in areas like this, so high up in the mountains.
The winters in Norway are long, but it is not the cold that causes problems for the elk. It is the lack of food. They eat conifer shoots during the colder part of the year and often have to travel long distances to find food. Their long legs help them trudge through the snow. If necessary, they can also strip the bark from young trees. Winter is a time marked by deprivation, as they get by on far less food than the summer. Elk can survive at temperatures of up to -50 degrees Celsius. They lose up to 20% of their body weight in winter. The bulls get rid of their antlers in winter to save energy. With their ability to adapt to a range of conditions, elk once roamed around the whole of Central Europe. But the growth of agriculture and the deforestation across the continent drove them into the far north. Their greatest threat today is humankind. In Mo Farm's forest, Bore Asbo has not yet given up.
This is an elk track. It goes up here. If you see a path like this, you know you can follow it up. Wherever elks can climb, humans can follow. And the same is true going downhill. If you're unsure and don't know an area or how to get out of it, you should follow an elk track. Whatever happens then, you will find a path.
Bore is beginning to lose hope. But the dog is barking. An elk must be somewhere in the vicinity. This time, he hits the target.
Good boy! Great! Perfect!
Epu, the elk hound, has done his job perfectly. The dog now leads the hunter to the downed animal, a female. In order to calm Epu down after the hunt, he is put on the lead. Bore reports his success to his colleagues.
I'm not thrilled with what I've done, but I am pleased every time the elk dies quickly, that it doesn't have to suffer. These animals live their whole lives in the wild. We kill them quickly in their natural surroundings. It's a good feeling after a long day hunting, where we have walked a long way and the dog has done its job very well. It's a nice way to end the day. And we also have a lot of meat to take home.
The elk is picked up and will be butchered back at the farm. Elk meat is a delicacy in Scandinavia and is highly sought after. Trygve and Bure are pleased with the day. Even in areas like this, which seem to be ruled by Mother Nature, humans make sure relations between the elk and landowners remain easy. Respect for the animals is key to this.
Look, Bure. A bull has sharpened his hooves here. Not this year, or even last year, but maybe the one before that. It's a good sign. It means he can fight for the ladies better in autumn.
Whereas their ancestors only hunted elk for food, today's hunters do so out of a mix of economic interest and a desire to maintain the balance of the natural world.
A good hunter is someone who cares about nature and respects the animals, someone who conducts themselves with care. It is a huge advantage to have experience and to talk to other experienced hunters in order to develop the best possible knowledge and understanding of nature.
The elk has become emblematic for Scandinavia. Majestic, unique, an animal which provokes love and a bit of fear.